Hey, hello to my friends and Pega partners from all over the world. Welcome to the Wanted Dead wait, Martin, this is for you, my friend. Welcome to the Wanted Dead or Automated edition of the Pega Partner Hour, a monthly webinar series that provides Pega partners with support in the sales, technical, and industry domains. As always, this webinar is recorded. If you have any problems and don't want to be recorded, please drop from the call and you're welcome to watch the recording at a later time, which you can find on the Pega Partner Portal and on our YouTube channel. All right. Hey, today we're joined by Pega's Senior Director of Product Management and Process and Task Mining, Mr. Brian Kelleher. Also with us is Martin Cook from his team. And I got to tell you, I've been really interested in having them on the show, and I'll tell you why. I was at the Innovation Hub at Pega World, and I found myself in the far back booths. And really, if you've got a booth, you're not in the area you want to be in because you want to be up front, right when everybody walk in, and you get all that high traffic. But I found a booth that is in the back, and as I walked up, I noticed that the crowd watching the presentation there was probably 5 times bigger than any other booth. So I thought I'd check it out, just in case they were giving away free donuts or something, right? If you don't know this about me, I love donuts. In fact, if you ever want to have a meeting, set it at the best donut shop in town and I'll be there. But, to my surprise, there was no giveaway. In fact, just Brian and his team talking about Pega's process and task management. And then every time I circled around Innovation Hub again, the crowds just seemed to get bigger and bigger. And that's why I said, you know what? We have to get this team on the Pega Partner Hour because people are interested in what they're talking about. So what is process and task management mining? I'm going to let Brian and his team, I'm going to let Brian and Martin tell you about that. But in short, they spend their day helping Pega's clients uncover hidden inefficiencies in the processes that they have. And if you've ever wondered where work really gets stuck and where things slow down and stop, that's pretty much what these gents do. So, cowboys and cowgirls, I present to you Mr. Brian Kelleher and my cowboy in training with me. Early, I'm the one in training. This is the first time I've had this on, Martin Cook. Gentlemen, please say hello and take it away.
Hey, thank you so much, Randy. I'm going to start sharing my screen here. It's great to meet all of you all. As Randy said, my name is Brian Kelleher, and I head up the process and task mining group here at Pega. Excited to be presenting to you today. I'll let our sheriff of Tucson County, Martin Cook, introduce himself here in just a minute. But I want to go through a few slides just to get everybody grounded in what process and task mining is. And then Martin's going to walk you through a demo about a live demo of what the product can do and show you all the wonderful things we can go after. I think there may be some bandits lurking in the shadows out here, and we're going to try to uncover those bandits and see if we can find them. And then we'll close it out and answer any questions you all may have. I do ask if you have questions as we're going through this, just ask them. Put them in the Q&A section here, and I'd love to hear them. We'd love to answer them. No questions too hard, no questions too tough, nothing's too controversial. Let's go, right? So, all right, so let's jump into why does process and task mining even exist? And so when I go into a client and I start talking to them about, hey, tell me what's going on in your business, how does your process run? They always draw this beautiful picture of a process map and what they think it looks like. And it usually looks like this nice paved road that you see going through the old West Town here. And when we bring in the data and take a look at how the process is actually being run, it looks more like that rugged path. And you see we got a little rattlesnake and some dead animals over here. It's a really scary place to be. And a lot of that is because there's a lot of villains that are hiding along the way as you're going through and executing these processes. You got this bypass Bob where someone is maybe circumventing your process and skipping critical steps that could lead to a risk or compliance issue. He also obviously doesn't know how to shave. You can see he's only shaved like half his face. I'm not sure why that is. You got the approval looper. You have things that are going through unnecessary approvals. Maybe humans have to go in and approve things that could be done through straight through processing, could be done really fast with automations. And then there's always rework. So maybe you're not collecting the right documents up front. maybe you're not getting the right information to move things through. And therefore, the process is having to go through these continuous reworks. And we see this all the time. And I think one of the things that our customers really ask us for is, how do I take these processes, whether it's run by a legacy system, maybe it's run by a whole bunch of Excel, Word, whatever it may be. Maybe it's an existing Pega process that they just want to reimagine and make it better. How do I go about this journey and get better at executing my processes? And this is what we call the voyage to workflow excellence. You kind of start out with your legacy systems, you get the event logs out, you use Pega process and task mining to kind of uncover those efficiencies, figure out where you have opportunities to make improvements, and then you reimagine it with Pega's best-in-class capabilities, whether that's Blueprint, whether you're using just the regular automation, process AI, whatever it may be, to go through and improve your processes. And one of the questions we always get, if you haven't asked it or it hasn't come through, is what's the difference between the two? Which one do I need? Why do I need them? And I like to tell this story. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. It's an actual customer example. We were working with a healthcare company, and they used process mining to look at this process that was being executed by nurses. This process cost $6,000 every time it executed. And they were like, there's got to be ways to make this better. These nurses are very, very expensive. We need to figure out what to do. So they put process mining on. They mined the process. They said, we don't really see anything going on in the process. They did some over-the-shoulder kind of observations. They did some interviews with the nurses. Didn't find any efficiencies that they could get. They then deployed our task mining solution on the desktop. And so what they found was 30% of the time that the associates were, or the nurses were working on this process, they were actually in Word. And they actually almost kicked us out of the room because they looked at the data, they go, there's no way this is true. We've talked to the nurses, they're not doing it. And we said, well, hey, do us a favor, go talk to the nurses, go ask them what they're doing, and see if maybe there's something there that they didn't tell you at first. Sure enough, they went and talked to the nurses. The nurses said, yeah, we didn't tell you about that little Word part of the process because we weren't supposed to be using Word. And what had happened was the system itself was actually going down on a regular basis. And every time it went down, the nurses lost all of their work. So they basically created a shadow process so that they could not lose any of their work and actually be able to keep track of all that throughout. So with just a small change, just being able to save that work along each of these steps, they were able to identify that. So that's really how the two work together. It's not an or, it's really more of an and there's certain instances that make sense for one versus the other. Think of process mining of looking across your enterprise, understanding how work is getting completed, and then task mining lets you look deep when a person's involved and they're having to do work on the desktop. All right, I'm going to keep moving here so we have time for a good demo. So how does it all work? How do they work together? So for process mining to work, we really need three pieces of information in order to be successful. We need some sort of unique identifier for the work. In Pega, that's case ID. We need some sort of timestamp of when an activity happened. And then we need a name for what that activity is. So think of it as like, I assigned this work, I dispatched someone there. Now, if you have additional attributes about the case that tell us more about what's going on, you can do some really, really cool things that Martin's going to show you here in a minute, like root cause analysis. You can start to understand why different branches are operating more effectively than others and really get to why things are happening so you can take action immediately and really understand what's driving things to go down a certain path. All right? And
Yeah,
when
Brian,
you get all that
you.
yeah,
Brian,
go ahead, Randy.
We got a quick question that came in already, so I wanted to jump that in.
Sweet.
The question is, can the Pega Legacy Transformation Team's Foundry tool output of mainframe workflow, business rules, and events be ingested in Pega's process mining to get a clear picture of the end-to-end process and what's happening in mainframe as we work to reimagine the modernization project?
Randy, I love that question. That's
There's
fantastic.
a lot there.
Yeah, no, that's a thick one. I love it. So I think the short answer around that is absolutely. So if you can get those three pieces of information that I talked about, like unique identifier for the piece of work that's going on, a timestamp of when something happened, and an activity name, something that happened, like the description of the activity, you can absolutely take mainframe data. And a lot of our customers do take a look at the mainframe data to try to understand how the process is actually running inside a mainframe. Because the code analysis is awesome and it tells you like how it was built, and the event logs will tell you kind of how it's actually running and what the operational reality looks like for that particular process.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, thank you. With that data, you get these awesome dashboards and all these things that Martin's going to show you a lot more in depth, and it really helps you kind of understand what is going on with the process and then evolve it or reimagine it using tools like Pega Blueprint. So task mining, how does task mining work? This is something that we get all the time. Like, you guys just record the screens? Are you watching me? Are you like Big Brother? What are you doing here? And so what we do is we actually have a desktop agent that it does sit on the desktop. We don't screen record. This can be deployed to thousands upon thousands of desktops. So it scales across the enterprise. One of our biggest customers has this deployed to over 16,000 desktops. So they're collecting data for their entire enterprise. So they can very quickly make process changes based on data, based on facts. It allows them to prioritize things. So we collect information about how people are using the applications that they use to get their work done, what types of hurdles, what are they having to do a lot of key presses? Are they having to type a lot of information in? Are they doing a lot of cut, copy, paste to move data between different systems? What type of hurdles are they encountering as they're going about their daily work and trying to get things done? That's what task mining is all about. So we have this approach where we collect the data about the events that are happening on the desktop, and we send all of that up to the cloud so that then the business users can actually go in and curate that data to break it down into individual specific tasks, maybe classify different work that's happening on the desktop, or even identify opportunities. We have something amazing called Opportunity Finder that automatically will pick out different work patterns that we've seen throughout the years. We've been doing this for over 12 years, longer than pretty much anybody else out there in the industry. And so we use that data to help you better understand, what's going on and take action faster.
Brian, can this follow a process across multiple systems?
That's a great question, Randy. And we get that all the time. It's like, hey, I have this process that maybe starts in Pega, goes to this other system, and maybe even has some work that happens on the desktop. Absolutely. So that's the short answer. We can take event logs from multiple systems as long as you have some piece of data that connects system A to system B. Maybe it's like a ticket spinoff. Maybe you have a parent-child case relationship. We can connect those two together. If the case ID appears on the screen, we can capture that, and then you can start to see how the process spins off a task on the desktop and see across all of these different systems. The best thing about process and task mining, although they are Pega products, they're not dependent on platform as the only source of truth for data. We can run on any Windows system and see what's going on across all of the applications. Great question, Randy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we've got one that's come in. If the process is extensive manual work using Excel and other manual tools, how can we approach them?
That's a great question. So I would recommend, and we run into this with a lot of our customers, I would recommend you start with task mining, because you're not going to have event logs that come out of Excel, because that work is what we call unstructured work. So that's stuff that is just basically the person can do whatever they need to do. And so you use task mining to understand what they're doing on those Excel sheets, what tabs are they going to, and allow you to get a better idea of what the activities actually look like. And that'll help you kind of draw out what does that task look like, so then you can then create a process from that. Great question.
I'm looking. I like words, right? So we're talking about desktop agent. Does the user or the employee, do they have to install anything, or is this running in the back without them knowing?
Yeah, great question. So this actually runs in the background. We recommend that our clients tell their employees that it's running, because a lot of the Big Brother stuff that I mentioned earlier, and obviously I think everybody's read some of the articles about what Meta is doing and what some of the other people are doing. What we've seen as a best practice in our 12 plus years of doing this is, if you let the employees know what's going on, you share the output of the data with them, and then make improvements based on the data you find, then you'll turn the employees that may be detractors into your actual best proponents and promoters. It's funny, we worked with a bank over in the UK, And they found that their people weren't working for the first 2 hours of the day. They were idle. They were just sitting there doing nothing. So they said, hey, let's go have a conversation with them. Let's ask them what's going on. So they asked the people, hey, we see that you're not working for the first 2 hours of the day. What's up? They said, well, we can't start our work till the mail arrives, and the mail doesn't get here till 10 a.m. They said, oh, well, heck, that's a problem. So they actually went in and changed the way the mail gets routed to this group so that they get it first thing in the morning and they could start their day right away. There's countless different examples of where people have been working long hours and doing things outside of kind of the normal. And this has really helped them uncover and almost become an advocate for the employee and help them see what's going on. But you only get that if you share that this is the data that we're collecting. Here's why we're doing it. We're not doing it to come whack you on the head if you do something wrong.
We've got one that's come in from Renata. How does this comply with workers' council rules? I'm not familiar with workers' council, full disclosure. Are you?
It depends on the country. So I think certain countries are a little bit more specific about what we're able to capture and how we're able to capture. I'd say for the majority of the countries out there, especially like the US, most of Europe, we're pretty good. I know in Germany, there's some very specific regulations about how level of detail you can collect. So we do collect at the employee level. We do allow you to anonymize the employee name, the applications that they're using, some of the applications they're using, or some of the data that we do collect. So there's a very extensive data masking capabilities in this. But I know in some specific countries, we don't actually have clients because of the very specific nature of what you're allowed to collect and how you're able to collect it.
But,
Good
Brian,
question.
you said anonymized. Who can see what's happening? Who can see what one employee is doing? Or can't you? Is it in fact anonymized through the employees too?
It's really up to the customers on how they want to implement it. Some customers prefer to have the employees anonymized. Some allow you to see the detail level. And we actually offer a very robust security profile. So we can actually limit what type of data they can see based on their role, as well as the scope of data. So like if I'm a supervisor over team A, the security allows you to only see what team A is doing, and you can't see what team B is doing. So that allows you to segregate the data that way. We do have some role-based authorization as well. So general users of the reporting can only see certain things, whereas like administrators can do a little bit more. So it follows some of the best practices as far as data segregation and role-based access.
Nice.
Good.
That question came in from Germany.
Perfect. Oh, thank you for that. Yep, absolutely. All right, so let's get to the good stuff. So Martin is ready to go. He's got his sheriff's hat on. He's ready to help you all find a couple villains that are hiding over here in the shadows. So we got Rework Red and Legacy Lou, and I'll hand it off to Martin if you want to go ahead and get everybody started and ready to go to hunt these folks down.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Brian. And just in case, my accent might have come as a shock because I clearly look like such a cowboy from the Wild West. My name is Martin Cook. I'm based out of the UK. I'm Senior Product Manager in Brian's team. I've been working in process and task mining space for close to 7 years now, and loving every minute of it. Working with partners like yourselves, working with clients to help them get the best out of our product, and really evangelizing about it as well, and getting people as excited about this as I am. Right, and so what we're about to do is hunt down two process bandits. They want it dead or automated. We've got Rework Red, who's always making people repeat what they're doing. He's a drain on resources. He's impacting efficiency. And we've got Legacy Lou, who's wanting for stealing IT's budgets. Something like 57% of IT budgets in the US is spent maintaining legacy applications. Legacy Lou's behind that, so we need to be able to hunt him down. I'm conscious that I've just gone a little bit blurry, and I apologize for that. My camera's acting up. So hopefully just pretend you're squinting and we'll be fine. So I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to start looking first for Rework Red. So let me know, and if I could just get a thumbs up from Brian or Randy, that'd be great, please. Cool, good. Thank you. So here we are in a process view. So as Brian's already told you, the way we got here is we've got some columns. We've got the timestamps, we've got the events, and we've got cases that link these events together. And I can see we've got 17,500 cases that we're analyzing. And what it's discovered is a rough order, in like the most general order in which this work is done. But if I increase the traces, we can start to see it's slightly more complex than that. So if I'm not a process mining expert, which some might say I'm not, I'm probably better at being a sheriff. But the opportunity I have here is to actually not just rely on what's in the process mining portal, but also to use our MCP that's just been launched. So I'm going to hop over to Claude here, and I'm just going to ask a question like, hey, where is rework red hiding in the loan origination process? All right, you've got to spell, and what that's going to do is it's got access to our process mining MCP. For the uninitiated, MCP is a model context protocol, and that means it's basically like a set of tools that we can make available to the agent so it can access all the data that's available to it within process mining. That means we're not asking Claude here to do process mining. That would be a huge waste of tokens. We have a tool which does that brilliantly and for much cheaper. And so instead, it's going to use all the data and insights available to it via process mining to then give me insights. And that means you can make process mining and task mining insights available to more people who have less expertise, right? So seeing as I'm in sheriff mode today, I'm going to rely a little bit on this for a moment and see what it comes up with. Okay, so we've got 3 variants of rework, 5,231 cases. That's quite a lot. And this top one's really concerning. We've got a triple loop on collect and review documents. I want to check this one out. So let's hop back into our instance here where we can see the process map. And oh, I can see the loop it's talking about right there. If I just zoom in, I can see we're going from collect documents to review documents and back in this loan origination process. So instead of going straight from create application and going through all the steps once to go close and fund loan, we've got this backwards step. So that's an issue. We need to do something about this. And now, obviously, I've got powerful analysis capabilities. I can filter on this. I could dig into it. But again, we want to make this is designed for business users. We want to make it as easy as possible for everyone to benefit from these insights. So if I just click on this magnifying glass up here, I can access our out-of-the-box analyses. We have things on slow transitions, reworks, bottlenecks. We do model violations, so you can compare to your standard procedure. Right now, I'm really interested in reworks because that's where rework red hides. And it's showing us that top rework that Claude presented as well. And again, Claude was just using this, but just giving us access and its interpretations. If I expand this, we can start to see some more detail. The really interesting thing that jumps out at me is that it's not just once that we've got that backwards loop. It's actually going around again and again and again. So collect documents to review, to collect, to review. So it's not just a little bit of rework. This is really, really significant problem. And it's affecting 17% of all our cases. This is awful. And when it happens, it's adding over 10 days to completion. Now, I don't know if you remember, but if we pop back, I can show you on our fast metrics, the average duration is 10 days. So I can make a significant impact if I can reduce this rework from happening. To do that, there's a few things I could do. I could start diving into dashboards, which I'll show you in a minute, just to give you a sneak peek of. But I want my life to be easy. So I'm just going to click on look for probable causes. Alongside those 3 columns that Brian mentioned earlier, your timestamps, your events, and your case IDs, you can also bring attributes in. So what we've brought in here is the state that the loan application is from, what's the loan amount, credit risk, all this crucial information in terms of processing loans to be able to then use them as filters, or in this case, root cause analysis. And the system has just gone through and looked and said, okay, when we have this loop between collect and review documents, what attributes are more likely to appear? So what I'm looking for here is a higher multiplier, so it makes it more likely to happen, and also a high level of confidence. And if I scroll down, I can see here we've got 100% confidence that when bank statements are in the document missing field, we're nearly 6 times more likely to see this rework. So we've got a motive. Rework red is making this rework happen when bank statements are missing. But this is a silly problem to have, right? Because if this was in Pega, we would just make attaching that bank statement mandatory. So we can go about putting that into Pega. Before I jump into that, though, I do want to give you a little bit of a preview of some of the other capabilities in here, just so that you've got a good idea of the sort of things that are available to you as you go into your process mining analysis. So we've done our root cause analysis. I've told you about the out-of-the-box analyses here. We also have what-if simulation, so you can make changes to how the process might be executed and see what the impact would be. For example, could it be that if we eliminate this rework, that we actually introduce bottlenecks down the line because cases are going through too quickly? That's something we can detect with what if analysis. Or we can do side-by-side comparison, and we can select subsets of the cases. So, for example, let's do this. Document missing, and let's set it to bank statements. Document missing and bank statements. And we'll say all except this value. So when it's not bank statements, what happens? And see if it's worse or better. So again, so those bank statements really seem to be causing a problem. It's much more likely that obviously we have that rework. So it's that easy to make comparisons between subsets of our data. As well, I mentioned dashboards. We can make custom dashboards and create new ones just as easily as dragging and dropping different features. So again, I'll pull document missing in. I'm going to pull out the loan amount, and I click save, and my dashboard's going to update just like that. And a really awesome capability that we have within this is all of our dashboards are actually, they act as filters. So you can make a selection within your dashboard and actually see the impact to your performance right on the screen straight away. So that was a little detour into the different capabilities that we have there. There's a whole lot more that I could show you, but in the interest of time, I want to go back and we're going to try and, well, we're not going to try, we're going to do it. We're going to get this process into Blueprint so that we can turn this into a Pega process where we can make those bank statement attachments mandatory, and we're away. We're in a happier world. Does that sound good? I can't hear you, but I'm going to assume that's a yes. If you could all, by the way, as we're going through this, in your offices, in your home offices, just be shouting yeehaw as much as possible. I will tell the difference. I'll feel the energy and it will make this go better. So I appreciate it. I'm just going to click on the reworks out of the box analysis here. I'm going to expand that reworks insight. And I'm going to click showing graph. So I mentioned earlier that everything can be used as a filter. That's your insights as well. So now we're just looking at the cases where that rework happens. That easy, but I don't want them. So I'm going to invert the filter instead. So now we're going to look at all the cases where we don't have the rework. Isn't that prettier? Isn't that more straightforward? Now, there's a little complexity in here that I don't really want to put into Blueprint. And so I'm going to reduce my activities a little, reduce the transitions. Now we've got something which I would want to recreate. And it's just as easy as creating any blueprint. You don't even need to leave this page though. I click on the Infinity logo. I'll select banking for this example. Retail banking and lending. I'm going to say, I'm going to preset the one that I filled in before just for speed, but you can call it whatever you want. And I'm going to click create a Pega Gen AI blueprint. Now that's going to take what I've curated, including all the filters and reducing the number of activities that are on the page, and push that to Blueprint to create a brand new Pega case lifecycle. And if I skip across, just show you one I've made earlier for speed, you can see we've got all the steps that is created based on what we had in our detected process. So we've gone from a legacy process in a legacy application with event logs that we've pulled out to the new world here where we have this case lifecycle, and we can take this forward and put it into Pega Infinity to create an application. So this is a really powerful way, Brian touched on this earlier, of like getting the runtime reality into your blueprint designs. Obviously, we've got awesome capabilities around pulling the code in and screenshots and things from for educating your blueprint on how things are meant to work. And that's your design time reality. That's how things are meant to happen. But what we've done is pulled in the truth so that we can hold them up against each other and say, hey, we know that in that collect documents step, there needs to be a mandatory rule where we have to have bank statements. Otherwise, we're just going to move bad process to new technology. I'm going to pause there before I go into the task mining demo. Do we have any questions that have come in, Randy?
We have. I also want to tell you, I got a text and it said, I love the incongruity of an English cowboy, but I kind of chuckled. I chuckled for a minute. If you think about it and you go back to the history of this country, weren't most of the cowboys English technically?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah. I don't know about it. There is a pub near me that is older than America. And I always like it when American tourists come in, because when they say, hey, it's just as likely that your ancestors as mine drank in here, It just
Yeah.
blows everyone's minds. So I love that.
Yeah,
So
that's
if you're
good.
ever
You
in
do.
York, go to the Red Lion and you can experience it yourself.
All
It's
right.
a lovely
All
place.
right. Do they have donuts? Never mind. It's a different thing.
They're pork pies, very different.
All right. So one of the questions that came in, and it probably is something we're going to come up on in a little bit. So I kind of had held it, but the question is, how do you differentiate against Celonis, UiPath, and SAP's variation?
Right. So with one of the things we pride ourselves on is being super flexible, and we can analyze absolutely anything. So as we've talked about throughout here, as long as you have those 3 columns, case IDs, timestamps, and events, we can analyze it. Now, your Celonis and your SAP, SAP Signavia, they're a bit more strict in terms of like where they work best. And that doesn't mean they can't do it. It's just they've streamlined the ways for SAP to analyze SAP processes. Celonis, they've streamlined, okay, you've got to do an order to cash process or this sort of process or that sort of process so we can find valuable insights. And what we've heard from clients is that that can then impact timelines. And it makes us super fast to get results. We're able to turn around analysis in days and weeks rather than months. And then the really big thing, and I think Brian's got a slide on this later, we've been praised by analysts, and we're really proud of the fact that we close the loop from insight to actually taking action. We've got this holistic suite of solutions for the problems that we find. I mean, you've just seen me take a legacy process and push it into Blueprint in a few seconds, right? That's what we do for our clients. One of our clients was actually, they used process mining alongside Blueprint, and they were able to reduce the discovery time for their process when they were doing their transformation by 60%. And they had a POC ready in 2 weeks. So this is the sort of stuff that we're delivering for people right now. And so it's really powerful in that sense. And we don't hear about people getting those sort of results from other vendors. So I don't know, Brian, if you've ever heard of that, but I personally have.
Not in those timeframes. Absolutely.
You know, we talk about how fast you're finding it. And certainly with Blueprint, we can reconfigure it. How fast till you can get it actually to go live, come back in and see those useful things? Like, you talking quarters, you talking months, you talking weeks?
Okay. I just want to check if I understood the question. Is that we're saying how long until we can start analyzing data, or how long until once we've created a blueprint, we can actually have a working application?
We actually, both of those questions, both.
Okay, I made it harder for myself.
Good.
So in terms of analyzing data, because we can analyze anything, we can analyze a CSV, an Excel file, but like you could make your own event log if you want. Uploading something and starting to analyze it, a matter of hours, if that even, depending on the size of your data. If it's a small data set, a matter of minutes. But we now have C data connectors, as well as our Pega connector, which makes pulling data from your systems super easy. So we're able to just reach out, connect to whatever it is, whether it's Salesforce. We've even got a connector for Snapchat marketing now. So like there's like 220 plus connectors that you've got available to you. So that makes it super easy for one. But yeah, the Pega connector, all you have to do is make fields, relevant records. There's a couple of steps to go through. We've got loads of information in our documentation and blogs online how to do that. Very simple to do. Once they're visible to the DX API, you pull it in, it just works. I actually had to set up a brand new one for Pega World. I did my CSA back in 2019, but I am not a platform expert. And I had it set up in 20 minutes.
And to add, for task mining, it's very similar. As soon as we start collecting data, you'll see insights within the first hour. So we've had some customers that have been taking action in the first day of implementing task mining, which is pretty remarkable.
Absolutely.
Let me ask the hard question that nobody's asking. What's this going to cost our customers?
You want me to take that, Martin?
Yeah. So I'm happy to take it. So in terms of task mining, there's a price book price of $37 per user per month, but obviously it's on a negotiated basis. And then for process mining, it's for the first 1 million cases. My mind's going blank, Brian. Help me out. Sorry. jump in?
No, first million cases is $200,000 price book, and then it's an additional $50K per million case block. One of the things that we've been doing with some of the partners that have been early adopters of this is actually getting you all the licenses as well, and allowing you guys to use this as a tool as you guys go through doing legacy transformations and looking for opportunities to help your clients be successful. So that's definitely something we can talk about after the call. That's not obviously, I don't have specific details because I think it depends on the use case, but
it's similar to it's not any different than our regular pricing. It's case based and user based.
Yep. Yes.
Exactly. Do we have any more questions in, or shall I jump into task mining?
Yeah, let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Yeehaw.
So, share my screen again. So you saw earlier that slide with the moving dots, all that data that's being collected across all those associates. Like Brian said, 16,000 people were collecting for some of our clients. We've got to do something with that information, right? That's too much for any one person to understand. And so the first thing you see when you jump into task mining is the opportunity finder. We group all the different behaviors that we're detecting within the data, such as excessive idle time, manual data movement, excessive note taking. And then we turn them into opportunities and basically aggregate how much time is being spent on these activities over the course of a year. We annualize the data. Now, we're looking for legacy loo in here. And so usually means hiding in legacy system use. But just before I jump into that, I want to show you manual data movement. So because we just talked about those insights that people get to see straight away, as soon as you're collecting task mining data with the runtime, you're starting to see manual data movement opportunities. I guarantee that for any implementation of this, because it's just one of the biggest problems we see. People acting as a human point of integration for their systems rather than their systems working for them. And so what you're seeing here is anonymized client data. And you can see that we've got opportunities where data is being copied within a single application from policy portal to policy portal. That's crazy. Why are we not reusing it within that application? From one application to another, customer app to policy portal, and even from one application to another and to another and to another. So we're creating these journeys of data movement. And what we've done is made it really easy to see what the impact is of this data movement on the tasks that are being executed. So here we can see that rental car reimbursements take 22 seconds longer because of this copy paste happening. Now, 22 seconds, not super harmful, I suppose. I'd want that back. But some of the examples we've seen are much, much larger than this. So we had one client who found 250 seconds of copy and paste every time they did a customer onboarding. And that was $1.7 million worth of time, which is just insane, right? So we want to make it as easy as possible for people to see that impact. Now, on the trail of legacy loo, as I said, we want to look in legacy system use, and we've tagged policy portal as a legacy system. And we can see that midterm adjustments are the task that uses it the most. 3 minutes, 32 seconds of a midterm adjustment is spent in this policy portal. We can also see the teams that are using it. So claim services team 8, claim services team 22. Again, this is anonymized client data, so you can see how easy it is to mask stuff. I'm doing it right now. But also this gives you the opportunity to have conversations with people. So if you want to know who's interacting with your applications, boom, you've got a list. But if I want to see how this affects their day, I can click show timeline with this opportunity. This has taken us to the timeline view. The timeline view gives us a breakdown of all the associates that we're tracking, how many hours they've recorded and captured. We can see all the applications they're using, and we can see a minute by minute, second by second breakdown of their day. So we can see all the different apps and screens that they're interacting with. We can see the times that they're idle. So we can start to understand exactly how their day's going. Now, I can click on Policy Portal here and highlight that on the timeline. So we can start to see, yeah, Policy Portal is being used a lot by these people. We've filtered to days which are affected by this opportunity, so that makes sense. And things like this are really helpful when we're talking about visibility of this work and seeing how people are working. One of our clients was actually using this to look at Notepad use, and they found that one of the team members, so it was a manager analyzing this, one of the team members was using a ton of Notepad, and he was the team member that was falling behind. And they only had visibility of this Notepad use because of the timeline analysis. When they talked to him, it turned out the training team was telling him, hey, you need to take notes the whole time, but didn't tell him when he gets into production that he can stop because there's an audit trail provided by Pega. He doesn't need to do it. But then when they took a step upwards and spoke to the analysts about it, they found that this was a problem across the organization and it was really eating into their productivity. So getting this visibility on who's using what tools and how much is critical to business's success. So just want to show you as well, one of the capabilities of the timeline here is we can actually overlay the tasks that are being executed. So I can see the midterm adjustment, which is the one that we saw in the opportunity, in the context of someone's day. So that's going to go fetch every single instance of a midterm adjustment ever being executed. It's just taking a minute because I'm sharing my screen. We'll just give it a moment. And when it comes back, we'll be able to see all the examples of a midterm adjustment being done by Aaron. Here we go. So we've got the examples there, this blue tab on the top row. But I know that our friend Jocelyn Carter over here, she's a big user of midterm adjustments. She's processing them all the time. So once it's finished loading, I'm just going to click on Jocelyn Carter's name, and we should be able to see some really great examples of how she's spending her time. Just while that finishes loading up, do we have any more questions on the line?
No, we're clear on those lines right now.
Okay.
But as a reminder, if you have any questions, dump them in the Q&A. We're happy to answer them.
There we go. So just give it a moment. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen because I think WebEx is just slowing my PC down. So give me 1 second. I'll start up the screen share again and we'll jump ahead. Apologies for this. As soon as I stop sharing, it's come through. So, here we go. So I'm just going to jump ahead and we're going to look straight at the midterm adjustments here because we have a task list as well. Within the task list, we're able to see all the different tasks that we've tagged and detected in our associates day, as we can see the midterm adjustment example there. And you may notice that we've got a scoring system as well. This scoring system is based on the efficiency, complexity, and friction that's present within the business when we're looking at this overall level, but also when each of these different tasks are being executed. Now, efficiency, that's the amount of non-work. So any desktop idle time or non-work tools, let's say that or whatever, go on Facebook during a call, I don't know. And then complexity, this is the number of steps, the application screens and the loops. So rework red can creep in here as well, the rework loops that are happening in the task. And then friction is the human computer interaction, the clicks, keystrokes, scrolls, copies and pastes, all that sort of stuff. And we can see that complexity and friction are pretty high in the midterm adjustment. And that's to be expected when it's using so much of legacy applications, right? Legacy Lou is right in here. We see that the average duration is 5 minutes, 24 seconds. And if you remember, it's 3 minutes, 32 of that is in Policy Portal. So I'm going to click on Viewer's Graph. And that's going to take us to a view that should be really familiar to you guys, because I showed it earlier, but this is a task view rather than a process view. The main difference is we've also got the application name as well as the screen name that's come through. And we've used our intelligent screen rules to detect what that screen does and give it a name that's understandable to the user. So here we've got change car details, enter new car registration, confirm car details. All of this is in Policy Portal. Then we leave Policy Portal and go to Payment Wizard to take payment. So earlier on, there was a question about how do we manage it using manual tools and things. This is how you do it. Obviously, all those different applications are going to appear in this view. It looks really straightforward, right? But all I need to do is click to increase the traces, and you'll see that it's really a plate of spaghetti. Spaghetti Western. There you go. That's why I'm wearing the hat. That should have been the answer earlier. We've got all this mess, and I guarantee not only is this in your clients' businesses, it's in yours as well. Everywhere we go, we see this complexity because systems are made to work, but they're not really addressing everything. And that's where Pega shines, because we're able to take all that, integrate those capabilities, and give people a single pane of glass. What we have here is we've got a pretty good process with Policy Portal and Payment Wizard, but then we're exiting to go to take wrap-up notes. We're going to Excel to fetch work lists. We're going to Word to fetch scripts. And this is just how people work. It's how the world runs. And we can improve things. We can kick Legacy Lou out of here and get people on new technology so that they're spending less time wasting their time. All I need to do to cut through all this noise is click on my activity slider, on my transition slider, and that's turned this into something that I'd be proud to turn into a Pega blueprint, a new case lifecycle, right? Again, all I need to do that is click on the Infinity logo. Then in this case, it's an insurance use case because it's a midterm adjustment. We're going to go to personal property and casualty. just like you would if you were creating a blueprint on the Blueprint website. And then this one will be customer service. The blueprint name, I'm going to just select one I've made earlier, and I've set U plus here. I'm going to create a Pega Gen AI blueprint. And just as I did before, show you one we've made earlier, where it's picked up all of those intelligent screen rules that we got, turn them into the steps within the stages of this Pega case lifecycle. And what I really love about this is we've taken activity across different applications, right? All spread over the place. And now we've turned it into a Pega case lifecycle that we can even demonstrate as conversational self-service powered by AI. So someone can just get in touch on the website. This used to be a person doing all this. And I say, I want to change the car on my policy. And it's going to take me through that process. How cool is that?
The amount of time this is saving is really unbelievable, right? It's just it's not just the work that's going to be faster and more efficient, but if we know the work is inefficient and we know we have to fix it, the amount of time that takes to pick through and find this data. And listen, I know that I'm ad nauseum about Blueprint, but this is, I didn't even know that this would run right back in. So I'm sitting there going, wow, this is unbelievable how it just goes right back to Blueprint. And don't sleep on Blueprint. Don't, that's just my Blueprint plug of the day is don't forget that it's there and that this stuff goes back to it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and Randy, just to add to that, I think one of the things that this really enables you to do is make these decisions about how you reimagine the process based on data and how what reality looks like versus like, hey, this is what we think it looks like. And that's how, system design has happened for so many years. And to be able to look at what your people are going through every day and understand that, and then leverage the data you have for that, plug it into Blueprint, and then you're off and running with a end solution that's going to be much more efficient and more meaningful to the people that are actually using it than if you just kind of designed it in a vacuum. So absolutely.
I meant to ask this earlier, but is just a good place for it right now as well. Do our customers have to buy the whole platform in order to get this, or can they just get task mining, or can it stand alone, or is it part of the whole platform that they have to add into?
I love that question, Randy, and I think I was about to talk about that a little bit, because usually our customers will start in one place or the other, and so we have customers that have just process mining. So we have customers that just have task mining, and then we have customers that have both. And I think a lot of it depends on the client situation. So if you want to kind of, this is a nice little guide that we put together of like, when do I start with which one, right? And I think a lot of it depends on the outcomes you're after and what your current environment looks like. So process mining is really good if you have access to the event logs very easily. As Martin said, we have access to 220 different systems outside of Pega. Right? We obviously have a Pega connector that works phenomenally, and we can pull that data in. So if most of your work is currently happening inside of those types of systems, process mining is your way to go. That'll help you understand what's going on. In the mainframe example you tossed out earlier, Randy, the question that came through with that, if you have those types of event logs, process mining is a great place to start. If you don't have a structured environment and everything's happening in Excel or Word or maybe some .NET application that was built 30 years ago, or whatever it may be, then task mining is probably the best place to start, because then you can put that desktop agent on there, and it'll generate the event logs to help you do a lot of the things that Martin showed you, and really start to reimagine what that experience looks like on the desktop. Cool.
Yeah.
All
that's
right.
Great.
So I just got a couple more things I'll just run through real quick, and then we'll let everybody get out of here and enjoy the rest of their Friday. So I know we already touched on how we're different than some of the others, but I think one of the things that we always hear from our clients is this is so easy for normal people to use. It's both process and task mining have been built with the business users in mind. The 16,000 desktop agent client we talked about has process and task mining deployed to every one of their supervisors and managers. They use that so they can crowdsource the operational improvements and get the priorities and get the improvements done from the field, the people that are using the applications, versus them doing it from a central office. Most of our customers follow this same deployment methodology where they'll have supervisors and managers that are in this every day. They're using this to help with coaching conversations as well as give feedback and give the employees and the supervisors and managers a voice and backed with facts so they know what to do. We're the only tool out there that closes the loop where you have process and task mining insights, plug it into Blueprint, you have platform to fix it, you have RPA, RDA to go in and fix issues. There's a lot of different tools that Pega has at its disposal that allows our customers to fix that. As Martin talked about earlier, we get results in days, not months, and you can see it across the enterprise. So of all the task mining vendors out there, I don't know of many that can deploy to more than 1,000, let alone 16,000. So we operate at a scale like nobody else. And it's great to hear us brag about it, but luckily for us, the analysts seem to agree. We've been named Gartner leader for the last 2 years in the Magic Quadrant, and we're in good space here. We're up here with Eris and Signavio and Celonis, the big name players that are pure play, for the most part, process mining vendors, and that's what their focus is. But we get recognized because of our ease of use, the scalability, and the way that we can close the loop with tools like Blueprint. And then obviously, as you all know, we have some other front-leading products out there. So last thing I want to leave everybody with before we go, and unless there's more questions, Randy, what can you all do now to learn more? We have 2 Pega Academy missions that you can take. There's one focused in on process mining. There's one focused in on task mining, all self-service, all free. Go take them. Go get the badges. Go learn more. We have Pega Community. There's blogs that we're posting out there. As Martin mentioned, we're actively posting out there new things on how to do, how to get value out of process and task mining. Go out in Pega Community, learn more about what's available out there. We also have Pega Labs available for you. If you want to go out and get hands-on, load your own data in there. Please no PII. We like to be careful about not loading sensitive data into the Pega Labs environment or client data. You can just go out there through this link, request an environment. We'll get it provisioned for you. You can even connect it back to a Pega Labs edition of platform as well and extract data that way as well. And if you want to talk more about like, hey, what's the art of possible? What could I do with it? If you want a deeper demo of what we're able to do, or you want to just maybe even talk commercially, like how would this all work out? Reach out to Martin and I, and we're happy to answer whatever questions you have after this.
Absolutely.
So, Randy, I'll toss it back to you to close this out, and if there's any other questions, happy to answer them.
So there is this funny thing that happens. I start getting text messages from people who are shy. But there are some good questions, and I should have come up with this one on my own. Right? So I work with a lot of partners, but I have a big swath of them that are in the government. So the real question came up was, and then some add to it, can you run this on-prem, air-gapped, no connection back to the cloud? But then in addition to that, if you're on-prem, can you use PremBridge? Is it available in Pega Cloud for government?
That's an awesome question, Randy. We get asked that a lot because a lot of the government agencies are really excited about process and task mining. Unfortunately, right now, we don't support Pega Cloud for government. That's something that we have on our roadmap, and we're working through how we're going to get there. We have worked with other government agencies where the partner has been the intermediary, so we could sell to the partner, and then they would do the service on behalf of the government. This is for the U.S. Primarily. We are in UK government, so we are able to serve over there. As far as the deployment method, right now it's Pega Cloud only. So we deploy to Pega Cloud, but that we can connect to anything, whether it's on-prem, whether it's in another cloud, whether it's in a client-managed cloud. It doesn't really matter to us as long as we can get the network connection there. But we do not deploy like on-prem to our clients at this point. It's an awesome question, though.
With all the all the hype, if you will, around Gen AI and agents, how can we leverage process and task mining to understand how the AI agents are performing?
Martin, you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So agent mining is a big new trend in the process mining space. Gartner and Forrester have both produced reports on it now. And Gartner actually named us as one of the few vendors that supports it. So if you imagine, obviously, your agents are just another worker. And what we provide is a tool that helps you analyze how work gets done. And so if you have the logs, which are very easy to get from your agents, Usually they're keeping logs as they're executing it. You may not notice it, but they're in there. And then you can just analyze it like anything else, because it will have timestamps, it will have events, and you can treat each run as a case. So I myself have agent mined my own agents that I've built. And actually I found one step, because of a file type being wrong, was adding something like 2 hours to the processing time. It was ridiculous. It went from 2 hours down to 7 minutes, that step. So just from actually taking the time to look at which parts of it are executing right and wrong. But on top of that, you got things like compliance. With the more that we hand over work to AI, the more risk we're opening ourselves up to in terms of work going wrong, right? And that's one of Peg's key messages, right? About governance around your agents. And so the way we see agent mining working with Pega is giving you that visibility of all your agents, even the ones not in Pega. And so then you can do things like transform it. You can pull it into Pega and create a Pega agent instead, or you could just pull off the steps that the AI agent is doing, which would be done with case management, just like you would with Blueprint. Or you could just use Pega Case to provide that governance around your existing agent as well. So a few different ways you can attack that when we're talking about closing the loop. That comes to agent mining as well. But fundamentally, you're analyzing a worker, and we do that amazingly well.
Listen, that's great. So listen, not everybody has this craziness going on. Give us your emails real quick so people, and listen, you can come to me, send me an email. I'm happy to make the introductions to people that need more information. All this stuff is on Academy, but if you guys want to throw your emails up or tell your email real quick, please do.
Sure. Mine's brian.kelleher@pega.com. Good luck spelling my last name. It's right there.
It's a test.
That'll be helpful. Yeah, that's a test.
Yeah, I've disappeared, but I'm still here. There we go. I'm martin.cook@pega.com, so slightly easier last name. But yeah, just also reach out in the recording as well. We've got a slide in there which has both of our email addresses, just in case you want to rewatch and get in touch. But we're very friendly folks, so do reach out.
Yep.
At least
well, thank you all. Yeah, I really appreciate the time. And Randy,
yeah,
thank you for
listen, this is why you guys had the biggest crowd. I have a little cowboy hat jealousy because the AI is taking out the cowboy. I look more like an Italian mobster not wearing quite. So Martin, I'm a little jealous. I think the takeaways are: find an English cowboy and give him a hug today. Number 2, it's Friday, life's short, get a donut. And if you need some information on process and task mining, please give us a call, because it's going to help your clients, and it's really going to make Pega work a lot better for them. So that brings us to the close of another Pega Partner Hour. Great thanks to everyone that shows up month to month, all of our new visitors today. And as always, none of this happens without my good friend, Mr. John Lynch. And of course, today, Brian and Matt. I can't thank you enough for all the time you've taken. And people don't know there's a lot of work to set up to do this. And thank you for making this edition of the Pega Partner Hour one of the best ever. For everyone else, we will be back on September 11th for the next Partner Hour. Until then, sell and be well. Thank you very much for joining us. We always love having you.